I'm going to discuss the Keynesian multiplier in this video segment, which is for Miller chapter 12. We go through a lot more in the chapter. There is a lot more in the chapter than just the multiplier effect, but in the interest of where we are in the semester and applicability, I'm just for chapter 12 just going to focus on one small piece, the multiplier, and then I'm going to jump right into chapter 13, which is the application of that to fiscal policy. So that's the agenda, and here's how I'm going to start. I have two terms in the middle of my notes. My notes are entitled fiscal policy. In the middle there, I have two terms: expansionary policy and contractionary policy. Those two terms are just like they sound. Expansionary policy is designed to expand the economy to decrease unemployment or to increase employment. Contractionary policy, of course, then would be the opposite. It's actually designed to cool off a hot economy. The purpose of that, historically, and as far as I know, only for this purpose has that been done to try to choke off inflation, which we explored demand pull inflation with aggregate supply and aggregate demand. So if you imagine a very high aggregate demand, we have demand pull inflation. So we might have contractionary policy. And I hesitate there because there are two kinds of policy. Now, this is in the beginning of my notes, and I've mentioned it in the past as well. There's fiscal policy and there is monetary policy. Fiscal policy is done by the government. The tools of the fiscal policymakers, who are politicians in our country, their tools are taxes and spending. To heat up the economy, they could increase government spending, increase G in y equals c plus I plus g plus nx. Or they could decrease taxes, which would increase c or I in that national income identity, y equals c plus I plus g plus nx. The tools of the monetary policymaker are the root word of monetary is money, so it's about the money supply to expand the economy. Our monetary policy in the United States is the Federal Reserve, chaired by or run by the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, is the decision-making committee, the chairman of which is Jerome Powell. Their tools at their disposal is the money supply, and which is strongly related to interest rates. So we could say the money supply and interest rates, but they go hand in hand. So expansionary monetary policy is increasing the money supply, which we will explore why this is so, decreases interest rates. Lower interest rates lowers the cost of borrowing, so that makes it more tempting to buy cars, buy houses, run things on a credit card for businesses to borrow so that they can install new assembly lines or open new plants. It also makes it more punitive, punishing, to put money in savings because at lower interest rates, it's not as rewarding to save money. And hey, it's always more fun to spend money than to save it anyway. So if it doesn't pay well to save it, spending becomes pretty exciting, even more exciting. And if that's so, and we're out spending money, we're buying stuff, people have to make that stuff, people have to deliver that stuff. That's expansionary monetary policy because it increases employment, decreases unemployment, expands the size of the economy. Contractionary monetary policy would be the opposite thing, where they would decrease the money supply. That makes money less available or more scarce. That increases interest rates. And of course, at higher interest rates, now the opposite things are there. It's more expensive to borrow. That decreases the likelihood that people are buying cars, financing hot tubs, buying things on credit cards, perhaps buying homes. It also makes it more rewarding to save money. Go ahead and put your money in a savings account or in a financial instrument, because now if I go out and spend it, the fun thing, it costs me more to buy the fun thing because not only am I giving up the money, I'm giving up the interest I could have made on that money. So these are our two policymakers and our two types of policy applied to these terms, expansionary and contractionary policy. Now, I'm going to be a little cynical, probably no surprise there. I'm going to suggest that fiscal policymakers, which are who? Politicians, are unlikely to engage in contractionary policy. Because if you're an incumbent in political office, you want to keep the party going. You always want to, if people respond to incentives, expand the economy. Keep the party going, because if you contract the economy, that will decrease employment or raise unemployment, and it will leave people in a position where they are both available to vote on election day and unhappy because they don't have the job that they used to have or don't have the job opportunities that they used to have. And that doesn't bode well for incumbents of political office, right? So generally, we could say that fiscal policymakers are unlikely to engage in contractionary policy, which is why we have a distinct central bank to do contractionary policy. That's why they call the Federal Reserve the party poopers. They say things about the Federal Reserve like they pull away the punch bowl just as the party is getting good. So my analogy is, you can imagine fiscal policymakers at a party. They're the ones that are always turning up the music, pouring booze in the punch bowl, getting wild and crazy. And, if you've been to a house party or something akin to a house party, you know how that feeling is when then somebody very often has the wherewithal to run through the house, usually the owner of the house, but maybe the owner's friend, and they say, turn down that music, close the door, get in here, the cops are going to come, get off the table, put your clothes on, all those things that we hear. That's the monetary policymaker, and we have them designated for that exact purpose, because in the long run, we know we need that, right? So that's those two terms and what the rest of the semester is about. I think in the interest of keeping short videos, I'll just stop here, and then I'll explain expansionary fiscal policy and the role of the money, the multiplier effect. So if you want to see that, click on the next video, and there it will be.